Welcome to the Modern V,
a space where the V not only stands for vagina, but voice, vulnerability, and victory.
We're Michelle
And Leilani,
friends for over 20 years, truth tellers and co-hosts.
Together, we're unpacking what we were taught to whisper about: sex, power, identity, and everything in between. Nothing is off limits.
Raw, relatable, and unapologetic. This is how we take back the narrative and make it ours again.
We dive deep into experiences, challenges, and the power of modern womanhood, because women's stories shape culture.
We don't always agree, and that's the magic. Two perspectives, one mission: elevating the voices of women who refuse to shrink.
This isn't just another podcast. It's us rewriting the script.
It's time to get loud.
It's time to get real.
This is the Modern V. Before we begin this episode of the Modern V, let's shatter one of the biggest myths about sexual abuse. There is no typical victim, and there is no typical perpetrator. Anyone, any age, background, or identity can experience sexual violence. And anyone, any status, race, or position of power can be an abuser. What you're about to hear includes discussions of sexual violence, abuse, and trauma. Some of the details may be difficult or triggering.
Please listen with care. If at any point you need to pause or step away, honor that. Your well-being comes first. We hold this space with love, strength, and truth. Now, let's begin episode 2, Beyond the Tabloid, Centering Women's Voices.
Let's line them up. 10 names, 10 stories, different outcomes, same pattern. Our goal tonight is simple: center women's voices, honor survivors, and break down the patterns the world keeps ignoring. We're not here to sensationalize. We're here to humanize. Because behind every major scandal you've ever heard, there's a woman who lived it.
Okay, so we want to start with someone the entire world watched growing up. Crumble, claw her way back up, even when she's still clearly struggling. Britney Spears wasn't just a pop star. She's an American obsession. I admired her throughout my teens. Her beauty, style, music, her whole persona. I adored her. I remember staring at her Oops, I Did It Again CD cover and thinking, wow, she's just so perfect.
Yes.
And little did I know that, the tears that were behind that perfection of an image.
I know.
So her story reminds us of a lot about abuse of control. Isn't always about a boyfriend or a husband. The person abusing power can be a parent in this case, right? A sibling, even though she did attach herself to these men that really didn't want the best for her.
Right.
Federline, that childhood sweetheart she had that she married for about 48 hours. I can't remember. 55 hours, I think it was.
Yes.
She always finds herself attached to someone that ends up controlling her, sadly. And these are people that claim that they protect you. And that's how they get you, that gaslighting. But her abuse wasn't really hidden. It was legalized, for 13 years under that conservatorship. Her father controlled her body, her money, her choices. Even with millions watching, she couldn't free herself until 2021.
Yeah, long time.
Yeah, and then if you watch her socials now, you can tell the damage is already done. The healing is messy, public, and painful. There are times that people, post, recently, Kim K invited her to, I think it was Kris Jenner's party. And it's like at this point, you don't know if people are just feel bad for her or they genuinely care. You know what I mean? Like, it's like anyone that tries to use her in their videos, it doesn't seem genuine to me. Almost like let's make fun of her. But that's probably me looking, as a fan that wishes her well. So I'm saying, like, if Britney Spears with all that fame and attention struggled to break free, what chance does the average woman have?
Yeah. And this is a woman with money.
Absolutely. And then in her powerful court statement, Britney said, I just want my life back. I'm not here to be anyone's slave. I'm traumatized. I'm not happy. I can't sleep. I'm so angry. I'm depressed. I cry every day. I mean, what do you say to that? And just, I'm sure this is something her dad heard, her mother, and you guys are the ones that caused this. It's heartbreaking. Her words pulled back the curtain on what it looks like when control becomes a cage.
Yeah. And Britney isn't an isolated case. We've seen child stars, teen girls, young women in the industry. They've always been vulnerable. Shirley Temple wrote about being a child on set, describing the show she was in as a cynical exploitation of our childish innocence. She even talked about kids being punished by being locked in a windowless box sitting on ice.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
Like, that is, I
It's
can't, I don't
sickening.
even.
Yeah, no, it's totally.
This is that demonic power we talk about.
Mhm.
Systems that see young girls as property, not people.
Yep, sadly.
And now we're gonna go, to basically, when you sleep, this isn't your dad or your mom or your sister. This is someone who took a vow, right, to protect you and to love you. So we're going to France to a case that shook Europe, not because it involved celebrities, but because it involved a marriage. This story of Gisèle Pelicot. For nearly a decade, her husband drugged her and invited dozens of men, 72 to be exact, to rape her while she was unconscious. He filmed it, and more than 50 men were eventually convicted.
That's so disgusting.
Yeah, like that's and sometimes I wonder, like, how did this start? Or
Right.
how, she just found out about a decade, like,
Mhm.
how
Yeah.
long after that. And it wasn't random. He spent years on the internet in forums and chat rooms where extreme and legal sexual material was shared openly. In one specific one, it's called Without Her Knowledge. He recruited men of all ages to come and abuse his wife while she lay unconscious in her own home.
My God. This wasn't even just one marriage, one betrayal. Like it's a network of men normalizing this abuse, then copying
Hmm.
it in their own relationships. The pattern doesn't just repeat, it multiplies in this case.
Yeah, I mean, and it multiplies, on the dark web.
Oh my God.
I know it's like disgusting.
Yeah.
But one thing about Giselle, even though this is, we have to realize this is also a woman. She wasn't, in her 20s. She's not a celebrity.
Right.
A mature woman with grown, adult children.
Mhm.
And she decided to, refuse to stay hidden. She waived her right to anonymity and demanded a public trial. And in that trial, she said, "Shame must change sides." And with that line, specifically, this is what this whole episode is about, is changing sides. Like, women should not be, ashamed of telling their story, or,
Right.
or,
Of
or what
coming
happened to
forward.
them.
Sure. Exactly.
So we're going to head back to the United States, where power protects the predator until it doesn't. When you put Diddy Combs and R. Kelly side by side, you don't just see two celebrities, you see a blueprint. One the industry protected for decades. Both men used fame and power as weapons. They surrounded themselves with enablers. They built worlds where young women were trapped, monitored, intimidated, and never believed.
Yeah. We see here Diddy and R. Kelly, they operated in the same music industry,
Mm-hmm.
they and built identical systems.
Yeah.
Environments where young women were isolated, controlled, silenced, and conditioned to disappear.
Mm-hmm. All with money.
Right. And power.
Mm-hmm.
So according to the trial testimony, Diddy, he hid behind hotel doors, studios, and NDAs um, when he threatened Cassie, releasing intimate photos of Cassie.
Yeah.
Her poor mother had to, you know, gather up $20,000 and gave it to him. He obviously he didn't end up cashing it, but um,
I mean, he didn't
you
need
can see
$20,000.
he didn't need it. Some change. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, sadly, not for us though, but
No.
it goes to show you that he doesn't, it's just his way of saying, I can destroy you. I'm
Right.
untouchable.
Yeah.
I'm untouchable. Um, R. Kelly targeted these vulnerable teenage girls, as young as 14, married
Mm-hmm.
Aaliyah at 15,
Mm-hmm.
the same year that he wrote Age Ain't Nothing But a Number. That speaks volumes.
Yeah.
It really truly speaks volumes. Small settlements, NDAs, and a music industry that chose profits over protection he kept him going for years.
Yeah. Decades también.
Yeah, absolutely. Um,
And then Cassie said in court that there were moments that she thought that she wouldn't make it out alive.
That's terrible.
I know he was drugging her and just,
Right.
she got sick, just.
Yeah, no. I mean, those freak offs, they lasted days.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just an awful, awful thing she went through.
Yeah. And then one of R. Kelly survivors told him, you made me do things that broke my spirit.
Yeah.
So we see the same pattern, powerful men building systems of secrecy and harm.
But what's the outcome? Diddy was
Yeah.
ultimately convicted on 2 counts under the Mann Act, transportation to engage in prostitution, then sentenced to just over 4 years in federal prison.
Which isn't enough.
Oh, totally not. That's a slap in the wrist, if you ask me.
Yeah.
R. Kelly found guilty of running trafficking enterprises for decades and serving far longer sentence. Same pattern, different punishment. Not because the harm was different, but because the system decides which stories it's finally willing to hear.
Yeah. Oh man, this tough episode.
Yeah.
Then we have Bill Cosby and Harvey Weinstein, two titans in the entertainment industry, two men worshipped by the industry whose public personas became armor, while their victims were buried beneath that armor for decades.
Mm-hmm.
So, we all know Bill Cosby wasn't just a comedian. He was America's dad, the symbol of trust, family, wholesomeness, and yes, the Jello guy.
The Jello guy.
Mm-hmm. Harvey Weinstein wasn't America's dad. He was Hollywood's godfather, the one man who can make or break careers with just a single phone call.
Mm-hmm.
Cosby and Weinstein worked in TV and film, and they operated from the same playbook. Silence women, discredit women,
Yep.
trust the world to protect powerful men.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And in the end, more than 60 women accused Cosby and more than 80 accused Weinstein. All these decades of stories and generations of women either being groped, drugged, and no one, bothering to listen to them.
Right.
Cosby was convicted, but then he was freed on a technicality.
Right. And it's amazing how a lot of these women came forward, and it's almost like people don't want to see the truth. If you have so many X amount of women coming forward, even if this was 30 plus years ago, it's not the same. Listen, better late than never, I say.
Yeah. Times have changed, and people have to learn, to adapt to the change.
It takes one person to speak up, and then someone else gets, the courage to move forward. And you don't know how freeing that is. This person, that secret was probably laying so heavy on them for years, decades even.
We do know that Weinstein was sentenced, and one of his major convictions was overturned. So I do believe he still has the California one, which is 16 years. And I think he's still at Rikers waiting for his New York sentencing. And through it all, people refused to believe the women, like you said, Leigh. Cosby's own coworkers defended him.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I guess because they kind of felt like, oh, he never did anything to me, so I really can't believe that.
Right. Right.
And then, we saw Courtney Love, she was blacklisted for warning others about Weinstein.
Yeah.
She once
was
said,
off as crazy drug user.
Yeah. She said, if Harvey Weinstein invites you to a private party at the Four Seasons, don't go.
Yeah. That was on the red carpet too. That was a ballsy move, but listen, it has to be done.
But I mean, that seems to be his screenplay too, because it just seems like that's where he likes to do his fechoria.
Yeah.
And later she tweeted that she was eternally banned by her agency for speaking out.
That's terrible. It was back in 2005, by the way.
See, even the entertainment industry was protecting these people.
Oh, totally. Totally. Survivors kept speaking anyway. Andrea Constant said Cosby crushed her spirit. Others said that they felt kidnapped in plain sight. Rose McGowan and Cara Delevingne spoke out about Weinstein's predatory behavior. And then Cara, if you really think about it, Rose and Cara, they went through, if you notice, they've both been through, they've spiraled in the public eye.
Yeah.
They've both been labeled as crazy. They've both been labeled as drug users. Courtney Love, you see a pattern here too. So they write us off like, oh, we
Discredit.
crazy. Yeah, totally. And it's
Mm-hmm.
what an awful thing.
Yeah.
You're breaking someone that's already broken.
Right.
So it's important to speak up. Stick
It is.
stick with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Different men, again, different outcomes, same pattern. Power protects itself. Women pay the price for everyone's silence.
Again, predators.
When abuse happens in Hollywood, there's fame to hide behind. When it happens in the music industry, there's money to bury the truth. But when it happens within the US government,
Mm.
Shield isn't just celebrity. It's the state itself.
Oh yeah. When people hear the name Monica Lewinsky, they think scandal, headlines, jokes, late night TV. But what people forget is that Monica was just 22 years old when this happened.
A kid.
Yeah. Just starting your life.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then you have President Bill Clinton, who initiated the relationship. He controlled the secrecy and held all the power. And yet, when the story broke, the country shredded Monica, not him.
Mm-hmm.
You know why? Because it was her fault.
Right.
Why? Because she wore that blue dress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She should have known better.
She's the one that got on her knees.
Right.
Like, this is like, come on. Like, young women are impressionable. Listen, they want to, they think about it. This is the president of the United States and he's giving you attention. That's flattering.
Right.
It's I'm not saying what went down is right, but it's like, come on. Like, why was the blame solely put on her? She's young, she's learning that. It's, and obviously back then we didn't think about it because we were kids when this happened.
Yeah.
Think about it now when we're older. I'm like, it's really messed up what the tabloids did to her.
Yeah. And we know this one famous sentence that, Clinton said, I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Oh, yeah.
It turned a 22-year-old into a global punchline while the 42-year-old president kept his job, his power, and his legacy.
Yeah. Listen,
we can't forget his wife stood by his side también.
Right. Yep.
Right.
Even years later. So now.
I mean, they're still married.
They still married, right?
And before Monica, again, this is, a story that we were a lot of us were little. And for you Gen Zers, just us 1900 people. Standing alone before an all-male Senate Judiciary Committee, calmly testifying that her boss, Clarence Thomas, had sexually assaulted her. She was doubted, dissected, and dismissed. And unfortunately, Clarence was confirmed for life to the Supreme Court. See, and we see this, right? Where your boss or your coworker,
right,
se pone de freco.
Yeah, that's terrible.
I think everyone has gone through that.
Most, yeah, I would say so.
So here we see two women, 2 decades apart, same story. When powerful men lie, women pay. Their shame becomes public. Their names become weapons. And the men walk away, mostly untouched.
Untouched.
Yeah. Monica later said, I was patient zero of having a reputation destroyed worldwide. I was branded as a slut, a whore, and of course, that woman. I was seen by many, but truly known by few. She said that back in 98, there was no name for what she endured. Today, we call it cyberbullying and online harassment.
Wow.
Yeah.
Progress.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the damage in her case has been done, but, hopefully, information like this, a lot of people, especially in our generation, they should really reflect on that story and kind of try to see her in another light, because it's not fair for us to keep that image, that former image of her still present.
Yeah, of course.
In the case of Anita Hill, Anita Hill told the Senate, it would have been more comfortable to remain silent. But when I asked, I could not keep silent. That's courage. And it cost her professionally, personally, and emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
And the workplace part hits close. How many women listening right now have dealt with harassment from a boss or coworker and said nothing just to keep their job?
Mm-hmm.
You know, Anita Hill was on TV, but that silence, it lives in offices, kitchens, break rooms, everywhere.
Oh, yeah. I'm just kidding.
Oh, yeah. A trip to the HR.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
There's another pattern we have to talk about. The moments when men aren't the only ones holding the keys to the abuse. Sometimes the system recruits women to help keep other women and girls in line. In 1990, Gloria Trevi was Mexico's Madonna, wild, rebellious, worshipped. Beside her was producer Sergio Andrade, the man with the golden touch.
Mm.
But behind the music, multiple girls as young as 13 say Andrade ran a controlling, abusive network, recruiting, grooming, and sexually exploiting teenage girls who dreamed of becoming singers. Trevi and Andrade and their circle were accused of corruption of minors, sexual abuse, kidnapping, and forced labor. They were arrested in Brazil after more than a year on the run. Trevi spent almost 5 years in prison before being acquitted for lack of evidence, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. Ludicrous.
While Andrade was convicted in Mexico on charges tied to abuse of minors. One survivor spent over a decade under his control. She joined at 15 and stayed into adulthood. She later said that she didn't know how to make a decision without looking at his face first.
Wow.
And that she thought that obedience was part of becoming an artist. And she didn't know that it was part of a trap.
Wow. Yeah.
Imagine living your whole life
Oh
and
my
not
God.
knowing how to move or how
Yeah.
to speak, and that you have to
Like
look
you
for
have to be a master at that manipulation. Like these poor girls.
I mean, you grab them at 15,
Mhm.
14,
Oh, yeah.
15, and you're
Absolutely.
breaking them down
Oh,
every
yeah.
single day.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. That's so terrible.
What makes the story so heavy is that Gloria Trevi is seen as both a survivor and an alleged enforcer. Some of the women say that she was brainwashed and trapped. Others say she helped maintain the same system that once swallowed her.
Mm-hmm.
That's the victim-perpetrator duality. When you have been in the cage so long that you start locking the door behind other people too.
We see that same behavior and pattern play out here in the U.S. with in the Jeffrey Epstein case and
Yeah.
Ghislaine Maxwell. Epstein built an empire of exploitation. Survivors say Maxwell wasn't just his assistant; she recruited his girls, scheduled massages, made everything feel safe and normal.
Mm.
She was the smiling woman in the room, so I'm sure she made the girls feel comfortable.
Yeah, like it's okay.
Nah, a trap.
Mm-hmm.
Until it was too late. Dozens of girls, some as young as 14, they were pulled into that world, sadly. Epstein got a sweetheart deal in 2008, did part-time jail, and later died in custody, before facing a full federal trial. Maxwell did end up convicted, but the network of people who benefit from Epstein's power, most of those names are still unreleased. So
and will probably stay in the
they'll
shadows.
stay in the shadows. They're gonna stay in the shadows because it's like these are the creme de la creme.
Yeah.
Up there, people. We're talking about
Judges, senators, royalty,
the untouchables, the true
billionaires.
elites, the elites. Yeah, I'm sure that list, no matter what's going to be released, I'm sure it's been tampered with at this point.
Oh, of course.
The late and survivor, Virginia Giuffre, wrote, "The reckoning must not end. It must continue. He did not act alone. We, the victims, know that."
Oof.
Goosebumps.
Yeah, I know.
That she wrote that and then ended up, ending. It's a sad thing.
I know. That just this trauma just, it went, for her to unfortunately take her own life.
Right. Awful.
Yeah. In both of these cases, there is a man at the center, Andrade Epstein, but there are also women standing behind them, women who at some point were vulnerable themselves and then became part of the machinery that harmed other girls.
That's what patriarchy does. It doesn't just use men, it recruits women too, as shields, as recruiters, as proof that it can't be that bad. Gloria Trevi rebuilt her career. Ghislaine Maxwell will serve her sentence. But the bigger question is what happens to the girls they help deliver into those rooms?
Yeah, and it's another reminder that fame and power can survive scandal. But the survivors, they're the ones still fighting to be seen, believed, and remembered.
So we've walked you through the different names, different outcomes, same pattern. Some men walked free, some went to prison. One woman lost 13 years of her life in plain sight. Another forced the courts to listen and made shame change sides. Different outcomes, but the same truth. Justice for women is still the exception, not the rule.
And that's why this conversation matters, because there's more to these women's stories than what made it into the news. It's time that silence finally shifts.
Silence isn't neutral. It has a cost. A lot of people stay silent to keep the peace in the family, but newsflash, that's not keeping the peace if the victim's peace is sacrificed. Every time a woman is silent, someone else pays the price. The pattern doesn't discriminate because the power isn't always loud or rich. Sometimes it's quiet, strategic, and dangerously protected. It hides in every community, every industry, every family. That's what makes it so dangerous and so familiar.
Silence doesn't just happen in one family, it repeats across generations. The things families don't talk about, the moment they brush off as, that's just how it is, becomes pattern that shape generations after generations. In so many families, there are truths everyone knows but never names. And I've experienced that in my own family. A relationship no one questions because eso es problema entre marido y mujer.
Right.
We're told not to get involved, right?
Mm-hmm.
They'll make up and you will end up looking like the problem in the end.
Right.
People say, it can't be that bad if they're still together. Or if she's still with him, she must like the abuse.
Yeah. Na masoquista.
Exacto. That's how silence gets justified and violence gets normalized. Those experiences send a clear message. Silence is how you survive, but it's also what keeps everyone trapped.
Yeah. We all know that cousin, that uncle who's never called out. I was fortunate enough to have a mom that always watched me. I didn't have none of those sleepovers at friends' houses. I didn't get any of that. I didn't get it then, but now as an adult, especially to a girl toddler, I get it. I totally get it. Even though my mom couldn't protect me from everything, though, in my early 20s, I was in a serious relationship for about 4 years. And I reflect on, that relationship now as a full-blown adult, and I see how controlled I was. Like, I never really, I look back and I'm like, wow, I never really hung out with my friends then. At least not together or at all, really.
Right.
I even downplayed the times that he put his hands on me, somehow finding an excuse. But again, that's how it works when you're under control. Sadly, I'm blessed right now to be in a healthy relationship, but I feel like sadly many women go through that.
And sometimes even the ones that you're like, even ourselves, we're like, oh, I'm strong. That can never happen to me.
Exactly.
No, you'd be surprised how many strong-willed women end up sometimes with a guy who will completely destroy her life.
Absolutely. It dims her. Yeah.
Yeah. And we notice that when, someone finally speaks out, they can lose friends who don't want to choose sides.
Right.
And that's a big mistake. Staying silent could cost a person their peace. Speaking up, can cost your community. Either way, the burden usually falls on the survivor.
Yeah. Sadly.
Yeah. And there's something that we have to face head on. Our culture forgives fame faster than it forgives survivors because fame is shiny, fame is a shield, and fame gives people something to root for. And accountability feels like betrayal. People prefer a polished story over a painful truth.
Oh, yeah. We let celebrities and powerful people be complicated. Whole humans with flaws, redemption arcs, documentaries, and comeback tours. But victims, we want them to be perfect, calm, consistent, grateful, never angry, never messy, never traumatized.
The moment survivors show real trauma, the anger, the confusion, the contradictions, people say, see, she's unstable. She's lying.
Yeah.
She just wants attention.
When you go back, Courtney Love. Courtney Love and
La Loca, ¿verdad?
La Loca. Yeah, that's how it's sad. People don't want certain images to change. But it is what it is. You gotta really keep an open mind here. We've been conditioned to protect the powerful instead of the vulnerable. We call it now cancel culture.
Yeah. And when stories challenge the world and when trauma isn't pretty, people unfortunately look away. Think of everyone we talked about. Britney Spears treated like a spectacle instead of a person in crisis. Gloria Trevi, both victim and accused, trapped in a narrative complicated enough that people just gave up on the victims. The women who spoke about Cosby and Weinstein mocked or dismissed for years. Monica Lewinsky and Anita Hill, whose names became shorthand for scandal instead of courage. Epstein survivors still fighting to get the full truth released. The survivors who took the stand in the case against Diddy and R. Kelly, facing cross-examinations that tried to turn their pain into doubt.
Over and over, we demand survivors prove they're believable instead of simply believing them. Breaking the pattern isn't always public. Sometimes it's quiet. It's a mother who believes her daughter, a friend who doesn't look away, a coworker who speaks up when something feels off.
It's teaching sons and daughters that silence is not strength and shame is not identity. It's refusing to laugh at the jokes that are really warnings. It's saying, I believe you, before you say, are you sure?
It's checking in on the friend who suddenly disappears from the group chat. It's asking, are you okay? And being ready to listen to the answer, even if it changes how you see someone you admired.
And sometimes everyday resistance is you listening to this episode right now and deciding that silence in your family or your community stops with you. Thank you for listening to the Modern V episode 2, Beyond the Tabloid, Centering Women's Voices. If any part of this brought things up for you, please take care of yourself. Reach out to someone you trust or call 1-800-656-HOPE or 988 if you need support.
In our next episode, Survivor Stories, More Than One Name, we sit with women who have lived the things most people only read in headlines. They're not headlines, they're human beings.
Please take care of yourself before listening. And remember, you can always pause, come back later, or skip it if you need to.
If this conversation resonated with you, don't let it stay in your headphones. Share the episode with a friend, talk about it, start the conversation in your group chat, your family, your workplace. Don't forget to subscribe and tag us on all platforms at The Modern V Podcast. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
And be safe in the meantime.
Stay loud.
Stay real.
Stay you.
This is The Modern V.